the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Thompson, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Majority Leader.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on the topic of this special order.
Without objection, if you will, have the microphone there. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Turmoil in the Middle East heightened over the weekend, and my prayers are with all involved. I trust our nation's leadership can rise to the task at hand. However, in another matter of food and national security, this evening I'm taking the opportunity to discuss how farmers, ranchers, foresters, and consumers deserve certainty. Agriculture remains the backbone of America, but our nation's dedicated producers have been burdened with fractured supply chains, considerable input costs, relentless inflation, natural disasters, volatile markets, and labor shortages. Each is consistently worsened by ill-conceived, half-baked executive action by unelected bureaucrats in Washington. Our nation's farmers are bearing the brunt of it, and adding insult to injury, we're now a net importer facing the most significant decline in farm income in our history. Farmers impact our everyday lives, so how do we support those who provide so much to our families, to our nation, and to our world? The answer is a 5-year farm bill. The Committee on Agriculture has spent the last 3 years listening to the concerns of America's producers and turning their words into legislation. We've received input, ideas, and suggestions from stakeholders and members alike through our public portals and listening sessions across the country. Through this transparent and exhaustive process, we have produced a bipartisan product that will provide effective tools to our producers by bolstering the safety net, strengthening nutrition programs and access opportunities, and revitalize rural America. Since our last Farm Bill was passed in 2018, our producers have faced countless challenges. The needs of farm country are self-evident. We have developed a bill to meet them and a responsibility to fund them. For nearly a year, I've tried to educate my colleagues, and the hand-holding has yielded nothing. With that, my colleagues and I are here tonight to showcase our work and show that the House Republicans have done their job. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Miller. And I appreciate his service on the House Agriculture Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to serve alongside you. And thank you for yielding the time for this evening's special order. I'd like to emphasize the importance of passing an updated farm bill that supports our agricultural industry by strengthening the farm safety net, bolsters rural economies, and meets the growing food security and affordability difficulties that are impacting American families. Mr. Speaker, agriculture and food-related industries are responsible for almost $1.4 trillion of the United States gross domestic product. Yet, American farmers, specifically farmers in my district, face daunting challenges in providing a stable and affordable food supply to our nation. In Ohio, I've heard farmers and ranchers' concerns about continued inflationary pressures, regulatory hurdles, limited trade markets, animal health, and a broad range of other issues. Through the House Agricultural Committee's busy schedule over the past 16 months, I've seen the importance of policies that keep the farm safety net strong, incentivize conservation, encourage innovative research initiatives, support specialty crops, allow farmers to grow our energy resources, and much more. Mr. Speaker, the United States Department of Agriculture recently reported that our nation has lost over 140,000 farms in the last 5 years. This is unsustainable. The USDA's most recent farm income forecast reflects the urgent need to act. The report anticipates a 25% decrease in farm income from 2023 to 2024, one of the largest year-to-year dollar reductions in net farm income on record. Failure to pass an updated farm bill could exacerbate these already growing problems and have a devastating impact on our economy and food supply chains. The United States food and agricultural sector has an economic output of over $8.6 trillion and cannot afford to wait. I hope that my colleagues will recognize the magnitude of these issues and help us to pass a sound farm bill quickly. I thank the chairman, and I thank you, and I yield back.
I thank the gentleman and for his leadership and dedication to America's and I know Ohio's #1 industry. Now pleased to recognize the gentleman from the Kansas Big One, the chairman of the subcommittee on livestock, dairy, and poultry, Mr. Mann, for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for your leadership of our committee in this effort. I rise to call on this Congress to pass a comprehensive 5-year farm bill. This is my 25th time to come to the House floor to address the importance of a 5-year farm bill that is long enough to provide certainty and short enough to respond to the market changes and strengthen the safety net. America's farmers, ranchers, and agricultural producers deserve it. America's food and national security depend on it, and this Congress must deliver it. In the almost 5.5 years since the last farm bill was signed into law, the world has drastically changed. Since 2018, we've experienced a global pandemic, seen a war unfold between Russia and Ukraine, and now Israel and Hamas, and witnessed President Biden's failed trade agenda cause market fluctuations that no one could have imagined. Top of that, President Biden's spending spree and senseless war on American energy has driven inflation to historic levels. No matter how many times administration officials and political pundits say that input costs and inflation rates are coming down, our ag producers know that these levels are still sky high in comparison to the last farm bill in 2018. As Congress considers these conditions, we must also anticipate future market fluctuation as best we can. That is why my priorities for the farm bill are to strengthen and protect crop insurance, incentivize agriculture trade, and conduct rigorous oversight. Last year's drought and market conditions caused producers in Kansas to abandon the highest number of acres of wheat since World War I, and I witnessed a 35% decrease in annual wheat per harvested acre in my district. A good crop insurance program and strong safety net help ag producers in situations like these and help producers reliably stock our grocery store shelves, maintain a robust food supply, and keep people fed. It's one of our nation's best examples of a public-private partnership, and Congress must use a scalpel and not a sledgehammer when ensuring its continuous success for generations to come. Ag trade promotion helps Americans remain competitive and secure as well. Back in February, I introduced legislation that would allocate additional resources to trade promotion programs in this farm bill. Between 1977 and 2019, these trade programs added 13.7% of additional export revenue to the value of U.S. ag products and helped to create more than 500,000 American jobs. It is no secret that perhaps more than any other profession, ag producers face endless hurdles as they work tirelessly to raise our livestock, grow our food, and put fuel in our cars. This next farm bill must not handicap them with additional overly restrictive regulation. Instead, Congress must get out of their way and support them with the tools they need to protect the future of American food and agriculture. If you think about a safety net, the higher the risk, the higher the fall, and the stronger the safety net that you need to survive. The livelihoods of American producers and consumers are on the line right now, and that means our food security and national security are on the line as well. American farmers, ranchers, and agricultural producers need certainty like never before, and Congress must deliver for them with a 5-year farm bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this special order hour tonight.
Well, I thank the gentleman. Now please recognize the gentleman from Iowa, Mr. Feenstra, for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson. Mr. Speaker, the Farm Bill continues to be a vital investment to our producers, our competition with China, and our American economy. An important component of this Farm Bill is the crop insurance program. Before coming to Congress, I sold crop insurance in my hometown of Hull, Iowa. I confidently say that this program is a crucial piece to the safety net of the farming community. When severe weather strikes, like we had in Iowa with the derecho several years ago, the economy can take a turn very quickly. Crop insurance protects that farmer during the most unpredictable times. That's why we must pass a farm bill that includes this robust investment in federal crop insurance program. I was proud to introduce legislation that would help deliver a discount to help the next generation of Iowa farmers who utilize this important management tool. With nearly 40% of American farmland expected to change hands in the next 2 decades, this bill will make investments to the next generation and not allow our farmland to fall into the hands of our foreign adversaries. My bill and the Farm Bill at large will help keep families rooted in rural communities, continue Iowa's proud tradition of farm families, and keep China away from our farmland. I represent the second largest agricultural producing district in the country that has over 50,000 active farm crop insurance policies. I will continue to be a strong voice for agriculture and ensure that we pass a strong farm bill for Iowa and the nation that enhances crop insurance and assists the next generation. Thank you, Chairman Thompson, for your leadership. I look forward to working with my colleagues to get this farm bill passed this year to provide certainty for our farmers, producers, and rural communities. Thank you, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman for his leadership in agriculture. And now please recognize the gentleman from Minnesota 1, who serves as chairman of the Subcommittee on Nutrition, Foreign Agriculture, and Horticulture, Representative Brad Fenstead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a proud fourth-generation farmer raising the fifth generation, I know firsthand the importance of writing and passing a strong farm bill that is written by farmers for farmers. It's written by rural America for rural America. Without farmers' hard work and dedication, we would not have the safe, affordable, nutritious food that stocks our shelves every day. Food security is national security. And through strong farm policy, we will limit our dependence on foreign countries and maintain the most abundant and highest quality food supply in the world. In recent years, the ag industry has faced increased volatility as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, weather-related disasters, and international conflict. Today, the producers I represent in southern Minnesota are dealing with sky-high input costs and increased regulatory burdens, as well as a 27% decline in net farm income and a $30 billion ag trade deficit, creating a highly leveraged financial environment in farm country. The Farm Bill provides our farmers with the roadmap of what the next 5 years of farm policy will look like, and it is critical that we act to protect our family farmers and ensure that they can pass their operations down to that next generation. Our farmers are part of one of the most honorable professions, and as only 2% of the American population, we must provide farm country with the support it needs. Chairman Thompson, as well as the House Agriculture Committee, has been working tirelessly to write a farm bill that meets their needs and the needs of all Americans. I'm committed to standing shoulder to shoulder with my colleagues in Congress and the ag community to pass a farm bill that will shape the future of farm policy, including protecting and strengthening crop insurance, farmers' #1 risk management tool, revitalizing rural America, improving voluntary incentive-based conservation programs, and ensuring that taxpayers' dollars are used responsibly. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your leadership and the direction that you're providing the Ag Committee, and I look ready to go to work with you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman. And now pleased to recognize from the state of Tennessee, the Tennessee 6th Congressional District, Representative John Rose.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson. And Mr. Speaker, in America, we can almost always count on the grocery store's shelves being full. Too often, many overlook just how blessed we are to live in a country with such an abundance of food. Today, as Americans, we enjoy the most abundant, affordable, and safe supply of food in the history of humankind. That's because of the farmers, ranchers, producers, and suppliers who put in the hours and take the risks to produce the food and fiber we count on. It's also in part because of the farm safety net programs included in the Farm Bill that ensure that we continue producing enough to feed American citizens. As an 8th-generation Tennessee farmer and former Tennessee Commissioner of Agriculture, I can attest that programs in the Farm Bill, like the federal crop insurance program, are critical to ensuring we maintain the abundant and affordable supply of food in the United States. These farm safety net programs provide risk protection and income support for farmers who experience natural disasters, adverse growing conditions, and fluctuations in market prices. We must remember, in these times of rampant inflation and ever-rising prices for farm inputs, that our farmers are price takers. They don't have the luxury of passing their rising input costs on in the form of higher prices. The crop insurance program specifically helps farmers pay their private insurance premiums, which are often too expensive for small family farmers. In 2021, premium assistance covered 62% of premiums on average, for those who qualified. This assistance is available for most field crops, several specialty crops, and some livestock producers. However, in their current form, these programs are far from perfect and far from meeting the growing need of our nation's producers. Emergency assistance and routine support payments are often determined by arbitrary and outdated formulas. It's why this proposed farm bill makes these programs more adaptive to inflation. Rising input costs continue to burden our nation's farms, big and small, which is why the enhancements in this bill will improve the farm safety net for our farmers and agricultural producers. I am committed to improving these commodity programs by increasing reference prices and creating a more robust crop insurance program. Congress has the ability to update our farm policy by crafting a bipartisan farm bill that aligns the safety net with the needs of producers, expands market access, and strengthens program operations to demand transparency and accountability for the American taxpayer. In a divided Congress, this would be a major win for the American people and the Tennesseans I represent. Throughout the Farm Bill process, I have remained committed, as have my colleagues, to delivering for them, and I thank the chairman for his persistence and dedication to ensure our farmers are not left behind. Rest assured, Republicans in the House Agriculture Committee will not quit working on passing this bill until the job is done. You have our word, because it's the very least our farmers who work day in and day out deserve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman from Tennessee, and now pleased to recognize a farmer from Washington State, from Washington, 4th Congressional District, also serves as the chair of our Western Caucus, which is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to rural issues and the shared dedication towards those rural issues with the Agriculture Committee. Representative Dan Newhouse, so please recognize for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson. Thanks for those kind remarks on the Congressional Western Caucus, and thanks for being such a strong member of the Western Caucus. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to discuss the importance of a farm bill. The importance of a farm bill that addresses the needs, the priorities, and the concerns of rural America. As chairman of the Congressional Western Caucus, and probably even more importantly, as a third-generation farmer myself, my son being now the 4th generation, I know the difficulties farmers and ranchers face in day-to-day operations. Agriculture is the lifeblood of our nation. The government's role should be to support the agricultural industry and their efforts to feed and fuel our country. And the Farm Bill does just that. Today, farmers and ranchers understand all too well the consequences of a heavy-handed federal bureaucracy. Today, we are at a crossroads. We are being pushed to the limits. Agricultural operations, both large and small, have been impacted by excessive regulations and tax burdens that have proved challenging for everyday life. That's why at this critical moment, we cannot turn our backs on the men and women who've made American agriculture successful. Western Caucus members have been consistent about their priorities for a successful farm bill. These include supporting production agriculture in every way possible, improving voluntary conservation programs to ensure that those closest to the land can manage it the way that they know the best, enhancing forest health and management, and strengthening America's rural communities through investment and development. Throughout this entire process, I've been impressed with the Agriculture Committee's attention to produce the best farm bill possible. I've been especially encouraged by Chairman Thompson's due diligence to go out and gather community perspectives, evaluate current programs, and advocate for policies to be included in the legislation with rural America first and foremost in mind. He's been to my state several times. I think he's been to almost every single state in the Union. Under Chairman Thompson's leadership, the committee has strived to produce a comprehensive and effective farm bill that accomplishes many of the priorities that the Western Caucus members advocate for. This legislation will send a message to America's farmers and ranchers that we will still have their backs, and I will continue to support them just as they support our nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman from Washington State. Thanks for his hospitality, too, being able to tour your farming operation and a lot of others while I was there. Now, please recognize just a great champion advocate from Iowa for America's #1 industry, which is agriculture, and he represents Iowa's 3rd Congressional District. Representative Zach Nunn, please recognize him for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chairman Thompson, as well as our colleagues on the Ag Committee. As a 6th-generation Iowan and part of a Century family farm, collectively we know the hands, hearts, and hard work of Iowa farmers feed and fuel the world. Now, every Iowan is impacted by this upcoming Farm Bill and the agricultural policy that's included, whether it's as part of the supply chain, in the grocery store checkout line, or at a dinner table, as I, with my 6 kids, know very well based on our grocery bills. Unfortunately, input costs are up, surging 35% in recent years, and inflation is driving those profits down. Now, we know this. Farmers are not price makers. They are price takers, and too often, as the chairman has highlighted, they end up bearing the brunt of those cost increases. It was reported earlier this year that Iowa pork producers alone are experiencing their worst loss in 25 years amid a difficult economy. Producers are facing enough difficulties without worrying about D.C. being the one that hurts their business. They deserve far better than to be saddled with the consequences of politicians here in D.C. who might not be doing their job. And so that is why it's important that we must pass a bipartisan farm bill as soon as possible. And I'm grateful for our chairman taking the reins on this. As farmers deserve to have the certainty they need to continue running their operations after a busy harvest season, it is critical that this farm bill include key provisions, including strengthening the farm safety net for the more than 85,000 family farms in my home state of Iowa and so many more around the country. We must support also the next generation of farmers, both access to capital as well as beginning their own farm operation. Increase rural economic development with access to credit for grants, loans, and improved infrastructure, including improvement for rural broadband. Bolstering innovation in security and agriculture by expanding cybersecurity resources, where ag is one of the top 3 sectors under attack today, and importantly, preventing places like China from purchasing farmland right here in America. Ultimately, we must help the farmers, the best stewards of our land, conserve their farmland as our national resource. And unleashing America's energy independence begins with a fight for biofuels in places like Iowa. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll continue to fight for Iowa's farmers and producers as we move forward. I look forward to working with you and this team. It's time for Congress to come together, pass a farm bill for the betterment of our farmers, producers, communities, and families like yours and mine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield my time.
Well, Representative Nunn, thank you so much for your leadership. Now, please recognize a gentleman from Georgia 8. He is the subcommittee chair on the Agriculture Committee for General Farm Commodities, Risk Management, and Credit. Is also vice chair of the full Agriculture Committee and a most recently appointed member of the Rules Committee. I appreciate him joining us. I know Rules is busy tonight, so please recognize Representative Austin Scott for 3 minutes.
Well, thank you, Chairman G.T. Thompson. You're doing a wonderful job. And Mr. Speaker, I rise today to express my unwavering support for our nation's farmers and to emphasize the importance of the Farm Bill. Let me be clear. If you're a person who eats, and I suspect everyone is, then you should care about the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill sets a foundation of support for America's farmers and ranchers who produce the food and the fiber that we depend on a daily basis. Right now, farmers are struggling with rising input costs that make it more difficult for them to produce the food that we need. The House Agriculture Committee must make major improvements to Title I in the Farm Bill and address the impact that high input prices are having on America's farm families. The farm safety net in Title I has decreased due to the increases in production costs, and current reference prices for most commodities do not reflect the increased cost of farming today. The current statutory reference prices were established in the 2014 Farm Bill using 2012 cost of production data. I want to say that again. We're using the 2012 data to determine the point at which support under price loss coverage kicks in if the market prices fall below the reference price during a time when producers are seeing record high input costs. This has created a no-win situation for our farmers and is vital to our country that they are able to do their jobs. No part of the farm safety net should guarantee a profit. The farmers know this. It's something our producers agree on. But if reference prices don't move, then our producers are effectively left with no stop-loss assistance in the event of a commodity collapse. Supporting our farmers through increased reference prices in the Farm Bill means that we support those who grow the crops to sustain our food supply. Without reference price increases in this next Farm Bill, there's not enough assistance from Congress and the USDA for many farm families in our country to continue to grow the food and the fiber that we depend on. As the chairman of the General Farm Commodities Risk Management and Credit Subcommittee, I'm committed to making significant improvements to Title I and give the support that our farmers deserve. Thank you, and thank you for your work, GT, on this Farm Bill. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. Now please recognize the gentleman from Alabama 2, Representative Barry Moore, member of the House Agriculture Committee. Representative Moore for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Consumer prices up 19.4% since Biden took office, and inflation 3.5% in the last year. Producers simply can't afford this administration's bad policies. My top priority this farm cycle has been addressing reference prices, which Mr. Scott just referred to. Safety net programs are the bedrock of risk management for producers, and current reference prices are not sufficient to help producers manage risk against these razor-thin margins thanks to Bidenomics. As input prices go up and commodity prices go down, producers rely on these reference prices and a farm safety net to stay in business. I have seen this in my own family, hearing about the challenges my cousin, who is a young farmer, has had just getting started. I heard similar concerns during the Farm Bill listening sessions that I had all across the district. That's why we need these inclusions in the Farm Bill. They will deliver for producers in Alabama and across America. We need this legislation to fund the farm safety net, promote market development, increase feral swine control efforts, and modernize data collection for our foresters, protect crop insurance, and expand rural broadband deployment. I urge my colleagues to help our producers battle Biden's inflation. And before I end, I want to say, I hope you'll all join me in praying for Israel in the wake of this horrific attack they face this weekend. May God bless them, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership. And with that, sir, I'll yield back.
I thank the gentleman. Mr. Speaker, can I inquire how much time remains?
The gentleman has 33 minutes remaining.
Very good. Please recognize the gentleman from Representative Mark Alford from Missouri 4th Congressional District for 3 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you so much to our distinguished chairman, G.T. Thompson. And I want to thank him especially for bringing our listening tour for the Ag Committee to the great state of Missouri this past August. We had a great time. People got to have their say on what they wanted in the Farm Bill, and it was a truly bipartisan effort. I'll never forget Jonathan Jackson coming there from the Ag Committee in Sedalia and milking a cow for the very first time. Is truly a sight to behold. Look, I'm not a farmer. I don't even play one on TV. But I am an American who understands the importance of agriculture, that our food security is our national security. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, today I rise to express my strong support of passing a robust farm bill, a lifeline for our nation's farmers and for the nourishment of our citizens. My home state of Missouri boasts 87,000 farms, the second highest number of farms in the United States of America. Ag is the backbone of our nation, and through the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP, we bridge the gap between the produce of our farmers and the tables of more than 41 million Americans. You see, SNAP is more than just a program, Mr. Speaker. It is a pact with our citizens, ensuring that no truly deserving, qualified American goes to bed hungry. Yet it's our duty. It's our duty to safeguard the integrity of SNAP. It is our duty to make sure that every dollar is spent judiciously, reaching only the hungry and not lost to fraud, waste, and abuse. Mr. Speaker, it's estimated that about $34 million per day is lost to erroneous payments, some $13 billion a year, where in some cases recipients intentionally cheat the system to obtain more benefits than they are eligible for. These fraudulent activities strain the program's resources and undermine its integrity, affecting those who are genuinely in need. Our farmers are held to integrity standards through their use of programs like crop insurance. It is incumbent that states and recipients are held to similar standards. With more than 80% of the Farm Bill's funding dedicated to SNAP, any fraud is unacceptable. We must incentivize people to live a healthy lifestyle, eliminate waste, and firmly tackle abuse without punishing those truly in need. That's why, Mr. Speaker, it's time to wash SNAP with a program that is pro-work, pro-accountability, pro-sustenance, and pro-health. That's exactly what Chairman Thompson and my colleagues on the House Ag Committee have been working on. It is time to pass the Farm Bill that backs our hardworking farmers and ranchers and keeps our food assistance programs both strong and honest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman. Thanks for his passion for I know Missouri's #1 industry, which is agriculture, and #1 industry in this great nation. Now I'm pleased to recognize a farmer, a mom, a wife, a grandmother, who represents Illinois' 15th Congressional District, a member of the Agriculture Committee, Representative Mary Miller, recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson. Thank you for your leadership on the Agriculture Committee. As one of the few family farmers left in Congress, I understand firsthand the challenges faced by farmers. My husband and I expanded our farm in the 80s when interest rates were at their highest and the farm safety net wasn't as strong as it is today. Crop insurance has given us and many fellow farmers the security needed to mitigate risks and continue producing the food and fuel that keeps America running. We must be steadfast in our commitment to protecting the needs of farmers and rural America in the Farm Bill, including protecting crop insurance. Today, our family farm faces the same challenges as many across the country. Increasing land prices are making it nearly impossible for our sons to expand. Biden's EPA threatens our no-till practice, which is best for soil conservation. Inflation and Biden's relentless attack on American energy has increased our input costs. With all the uncertainty that farmers face, they need the certainty of a 5-year farm bill. Over the past year, we have diligently laid the groundwork to pass a robust farm bill that safeguards farmers' interests, while Biden has been focusing on the green bad deal and DEI nonsense. It is vital for us to pass a farm bill that puts farmers first. Thank you, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentlelady for her service and her dedication to agriculture. Now I'm pleased to recognize the gentleman from Indiana's 4th Congressional District. He is the chairman for the Subcommittee on Conservation, Research, and Technology, Dr. Jim Baird. Please recognize the chairman for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate all that you do for our committee. And Mr. Speaker, since my first day here in Congress, I've been a relentless advocate for hardworking farmers, ranchers, producers, and agricultural professionals who form the backbone of our country. It is their dedication and resilience that fuels our economy and feeds the entire nation. Today, the world relies on American producers more than ever. As geopolitical tensions abroad disrupt supply chains and heighten the threat of global food insecurity, it has never been more important to give our producers the peace of mind that they deserve. That's why I'm pleased to see we are making progress on this year's Farm Bill and beginning to move and beginning to move this legislation through the committee. This has not been a simple process. However, I am thankful for Chairman Thompson and everyone on the Ag Committee for their hard work. Over the past year, we have held listening sessions with stakeholders across the country to build on the success of the 2018 Farm Bill and prepare for the future of American agriculture. As chairman of the Agriculture Subcommittee on Conservation, Research, and Biotechnology, I am actually aware of the opportunities we have to deliver new agricultural innovations that will address food insecurity, eliminate hunger, and grow the economy. It is my hope that we can continue crafting this legislation, that we will prioritize agricultural research, that will reduce our dependence on foreign inputs, create thousands of good-paying jobs, and utilize our nation's abundant agricultural resources. I look forward to working with my colleagues on the Agricultural Committee to ensure that we meet the needs of all of our producers and prioritize research that will help America be the global leader in agriculture. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. Thank you for your leadership on the committee and with your subcommittee as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Baird. Now I'm pleased to recognize a good friend, a member of the House Agriculture Committee from California's 1st Congressional District. I had the privilege of spending quite a bit of time with Mr. LaMalfa. We had a very, what I would have to describe as a very emotional visit to Paradise, California, where so many lives, almost 100 lives, were lost due to wildfire, and an opportunity to ride in a combine on his rice fields in Northern California. And all of it, I really appreciate the opportunity. He serves as the chairman of the House Agriculture Forestry Subcommittee from California 1st Congressional District, Representative Doug LaMalfa, and we're recognized for 3 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I greatly appreciate your work on this committee and the hard work on the Farm Bill and the demeanor with which you bring it. You know, you bring people together with your effort on this, and all of us coming together to have these field hearings and listening sessions around the country since the beginning of last year in this session. So I think that's been very productive and points out a strong bipartisan effort to make this Farm Bill come together and be successful this year. And we need it to do so because we need that certainty for all the industries. So I'm pleased to be able to be the chairman of the Subcommittee on Forestry. Thanks to Chairman Thompson on that, as that's a very important issue in Northern California, where my district is, but all over the West, and indeed for the whole country. Now, we should be deeply concerned about the state of our nation's timber industry, the industry itself, as well as the condition of our forests. We have many mills closing down lately because they can't economically make it. And it's not due to their business practices per se, but more so the practices of the Forest Service and the available lands and timber harvest they need. This demands our immediate attention in the Farm Bill. And as many people don't know, USDA oversees the U.S. Forest Service, so that's why this element is in the Farm Bill. So as I'm depicting here in these posters here, you see what the difference between managed forests and unmanaged forests, what they look like. So on the left is a forest that's been thinned and properly maintained. On the right, a still green forest, but is so dense, birds can't fly through it, deer can't run through it, which this used to actually be the norm. But over 50 plus years of neglect in our forested areas have allowed this to happen, because at the same time we put out fire, which is a good thing, except for when fire can be a useful tool at the right time of year under the right conditions for forest thinning. We need to have an active management on that. Forest Service oversees 193 million acres in its purview, and at best it's treating 1% of those acres per year. That's why it's extremely important we have private industry as a partner, indeed the quarterback of carrying the ball on this issue for this industry. We recently had a field hearing in South Dakota with my colleague Dusty Johnson. We met up with the Nyman Enterprises, the Nyman family, a family company who's been there many years. They've just announced layoffs now because they can't get the number of board feet they need to sustain their business there. It's not just about business, it's about getting the wood products and paper products and being a partner in helping our forests to be safer, cleaner, healthier, the whole works. And so if they're having to lay people off, that means a small town of Spearfish, South Dakota, is going to suffer badly economically. It means our forest is going to suffer due to ultimately overcrowding, like you see on the right here, and make it an extreme fire danger. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We need to have stronger activity. We need Forest Service to get cracking on this. Part of the elements we've had in recent farm bills and in this coming farm bill are a continued expansion of categorical exclusions and utilizing them. These exclusions allow the bypassing of a lot of red tape in permitting and such. It doesn't mean they're going to do anything environmentally unsoundly. It just means we don't need to take 2 years to study every time we want to do a timber harvest. We already know what to do. They require NEPA so many times. We need to have a faster process to get this done. We're falling farther and farther behind. We're losing the industry. We're losing the forests. And so we need to have more categorical solutions. We need to have more pilot projects like we had at the south, the Tahoe area. It was about a 10,000 acre one. Now, what happened there is that work was done in thinning that area. Fire hit that area, and it knocked the fire down to make it where it wasn't a devastating fire in that 10,000 acres. It actually, they were able to put it out. And so we have the ability to expand the good neighbor policy, which enabled local governments and tribes to help manage the land for the Forest Service since they're so far behind on this issue. We have an expansion of that in the bill as well. So what we're doing in the Farm Bill is just common sense things to make our forest practices and forest health and have an industry at the same time. Yes, it's good to talk about having an industry. This isn't just big timber. This is something that we need. All these small towns in my area in Northern California and all over the West that have been boarded up, so to speak, from losing the industry. We need folks to be able to come back and do this work to help us, because just recently the U.S. has gone, because China's reeling things back in, from the #2 importer, now the U.S. is the #1 importer of wood products. What are we doing here? We have so much burning up in our backyard and going to waste. We need to put the people to work in our country and our forests, make them better, safer, and have an industry and jobs in this country. So it's so important that we have these elements in this Farm Bill and we get it passed, along with all the other good things for agriculture, for farming, to have a stable food supply. Yes, he mentioned I was a rice grower myself in Northern California, 5 generations now. We need all the above on that in order to have a stable food supply so our country is strong and secure. The same goes with our forestry, because you see success on the left here and impending disaster on the right in this poster. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for the time and allowing me to be part of this tonight.
Well, I thank the gentleman from California for your leadership on forestry and all of American agriculture. Now, please recognize one of our senior members on the Agriculture Committee from North Carolina 7, Representative David Rouser, for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, North Carolina is blessed to be one of the most agriculturally diverse states in our great country. Contributing more than $103 billion to our state's economy, agriculture has always been North Carolina's #1 industry. But it's even bigger than that for this reason. Food security is national security. In other words, the economic impact of agriculture doesn't even come close to measuring its true benefit to America and the world. Today, our farm families are struggling just like every other American is feeling the inflation pinch. In the case of American agriculture, it's even worse. Our farm families are expected to see a 27% decrease in net farm income this year. They're facing as much uncertainty as at any time in American history. We have a crisis unfolding in farm country because of record high input and labor cost, driven by regulatory assault on the industry, as well as stagnant or declining prices for both crops and livestock, eliminating any profit margin. This, by the way, is at the same time every American household is paying more for food than ever before. This is why a strong farm bill is so critically important for both farmers and consumers. It could not come at a more crucial time. Important programs necessary to help our farm families survive, to feed and clothe America, including a commodity title, healthy meals for low-income families, rural development programs so important to infrastructure and job growth in rural areas, animal disease prevention, trade promotion, and key investments in research and extension services for our producers, along, I might add, with other important provisions. All must be updated and improved to meet today's challenges in American agriculture. We have the safest, most affordable food supply in the world, and we must keep it that way. A strong farm bill is key for that to continue. A strong farm bill is America first. We should never forget that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for being such a strong leader and critical voice for agriculture as we work towards a farm bill that properly addresses the challenges of those who provide for our food and fiber. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman for his leadership and dedication to this great industry that serves every American family. Now please recognize the gentleman from New York 23rd Congressional District, a neighbor of mine, neighbor of the North, Representative Nick Langworthy, for 3 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman Thompson, for hosting tonight's special order hour, focusing on the consequential piece of legislation for rural America, the Farm Bill. And also thank you for your work making sure that we have an adequate Farm Bill and all the travel and the efforts that you've put into this at this point. In Western New York and the Southern Tier, agriculture not only drives our economy, but it's a way of life and a proud tradition for many families that I'm proud to represent. I fight for more than 6,000 farms in my district as we develop each piece of this legislation, especially as they struggle with the high input costs and shrinking margins created by President Biden's reckless economic policies. More specifically, the dairy farms in my district, they need better policy solutions that offer them a stronger safety net and more predictable pricing. As outlined in the bill that I introduced earlier this Congress, H.R. 1756, the Dairy Pricing Opportunity Act, we need to ensure that this next Farm Bill authorizes reporting of the cost and the yield information from dairy processors. It also has been great to see the recent recognition of the role of our farmers, ranchers, and dairies in what they play in our nation's nutrition and health. This next Farm Bill should also aim to increase access to dairy products for SNAP recipients, as outlined in the Dairy Nutrition Incentive Act, which I'm co-leading with my colleague from California, Representative Jim Costa. It's important that we empower and encourage households to consume healthy but underconsumed foods, such as milk and other nutrient-rich dairy products. Western New York and the Southern Tier have a proud history of dairy farming, and I want to ensure that dairy remains a core component of our efforts, as 90% of Americans fall short of meeting the recommended intake of dairy. And similarly, I've been leading the effort to expand access to New York maple products with my bipartisan Maple Act, as I'm proud to represent hundreds of maple farms and have even had the chance to visit many of them last month during New York's Maple Week. It's a great product, and the legislation would add maple syrup to the eligible products under the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. The Farm Bill doesn't stop at dairy production or specialty crops. It also focuses on developing our rural communities that are so often forgotten here in Washington, D.C. Title VI of the Farm Bill authorizes programs that are meant to foster economic growth in our rural communities, like the Rural Innovation Stronger Economy, or the RISE grant program. This program has been instrumental in offering grant assistance to foster high-wage job creation and accelerate the formation of new business in qualifying low-income rural areas. While the RISE program has garnered success and popularity, it's important to recognize that job accelerators typically provide specialized training for individuals seeking new skills to secure employment in new business. The explosion of cutting-edge technologies has presented rural areas with challenges in adaptation, resulting in a widening workforce gap and diminishing economic prospects. These challenges compound existing workforce issues in rural America, including limiting access to education and workforce development opportunities and mismatches between available jobs and the skills of our local workers. In response to this need, we've introduced H.R. 7015, the Careers Act, to build upon the RISE grant program by allowing funds to support career pathway programs in industry or sector partnerships in specific industries, including public utilities, healthcare, manufacturing, agribusiness, and others. Opening this program to industry partnerships could create more collaboration between employers, educators, and stakeholders to address workforce challenges and develop tailored training programs, ensuring a skilled workforce that meets industry needs. The Careers Act champions skills development, innovation, and collaboration, empowering rural communities to thrive. We need to ensure that Title VI of this Farm Bill will do more to close the skills gap and support our rural communities. In all, I'm proud to be a voice for rural upstate New York, Western New York, and the Southern Tier. Throughout the process of developing a final bill that not only supports American agriculture, but builds a better future for everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for all your efforts, and I yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman from New York who was doing a great job serving this rural America, his district, and American agriculture. Now, please recognize a gentleman, no stranger to agriculture, actually, being from the Central Valley of California, a farmer himself, representing California's 13th Congressional District, Representative John Duarte. Please recognize for 3 minutes.
Well, Chairman Thompson, it is an absolute honor to be here to support your farm bill and its moving forward today. As a fourth-generation California farmer, working side by side with my next generation, the fifth-generation California farmers in my family, nothing is more important right now than to get farm security and farm stability for Americans' farmers. As a California farmer, I've got some of my friends right now, best-of-breed friends, calling me, telling me, if we can't get stability in our ag prices, if we can't get our costs under control, if we can't get foreign markets opened up again, this might be our last year, where the bank might have us sell property. We're looking at a commercial real estate crisis in America today. Well, let me tell you firsthand, there is an agricultural credit crisis coming in America today because we're on the heels. We're on the heels of COVID. We're on the heels of supply chain disruption. We're on the heels of Bidenflation. We're still under it. And all of this is stacking up against farmers. While American families have higher SNAP benefits than they've ever enjoyed before, and so many of us in the Ag Committee support SNAP program to keep American children and families with robust nutrition, we have produce and protein leaving the dinner plates of working families. We have cereal companies today advertising breakfast cereal for dinner. Again, as SNAP benefits are higher than they've ever been. Maintain their plussed-up status after COVID. And many of us on the Ag Committee support that, both sides of the aisle. So what do we need? We need a farm bill that produces American abundance, that promotes American farmers' innovations, that allows American farmers to produce for national markets. We're shut out of China with retaliatory ag tariffs. We're fighting back on that, but we need market access promotion. We need the specialty crops block grants plussed up to help American farmers and specialty crop producers find the new markets they need. On the Gates Act, we want to solve big environmental problems, big ecological challenges with farming. Well, we need to make sure the biggest farmers can do that. So for those who are true farmers that make over 25% of their income from agriculture, we need to allow the conservation program access irrespective of income limits. We can do this. Chairman Thompson, Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity to promote American Farm Bill today. We can get this done. I yield back.
Mr. Speaker, can I inquire how much time, if any, remains?
You have 7 minutes remaining.
Okay, very good. Well, I thank the gentleman from California for being a valued member of the House Agriculture Committee, for your work, your leadership, your service. Mr. Speaker, we've just heard a multitude of reasons why we need to pass this farm bill. This is a farm security, food security, and national security bill. Food security is national security. You know, my definition of American agriculture is pretty straightforward. American agriculture today is science, technology, and innovation. America's farmers have suffered enough. They can't wait, and neither can we. Over the past 3 years, the Committee on Agriculture has traveled all over the country to both Republican and Democrat-held districts with one goal in mind: to listen and report back. Or as I like to say, use what God has given us: 2 ears, 1 mouth. So when we go out, that's why we call them listening tours, to be able to take the opportunity to listen from those folks, those hardworking families who are providing us food and fiber, building materials, and energy resources all over this great nation. We've been to at least 40 different states and 1 territory. Probably some states, if you heard tonight, multiple times. So somewhere in the neighborhood of, I've had the privilege of chairing probably close to 85 listening sessions around this great nation. And why would we do that? Because we're building a farm bill listening to the voices outside the Beltway of Washington, to the people who work so hard, some of them 7 days a week, to provide what is essential for this great nation and for the families of this great nation. Frankly, our process has been transparent, it's been collaborative, and it's been done in good faith. Mr. Speaker, I don't think there's a greater return on investment for a dollar spent in Washington than one spent through the Farm Bill and agriculture. And I don't say that lightly. I point to the facts of the number of jobs that are created. It's the #1 industry in, quite frankly, in almost every state, and certainly in this nation. The economic activity that is generated through the agriculture industry, both production and processing, and everything really within that food supply chain. The amount of taxes that are generated by farms, ranches, forestry operations, agribusinesses that are paid at every level of government to really fund what we hope are the essential services. It is the food security that is provided. The results in national security. There's no more slippery slope to national insecurity than food insecurity. That's obvious to see when you look around the world today. We are blessed as a nation because of our agriculture industry and the hardworking families that are working in it. But it's also, with American agriculture being based on science and technology innovation, it's about a better environment and a cleaner climate. When you look at the data that shows that the American agriculture, and that's livestock, that's plants, that's trees, because trees are a crop, result in the sequestration of 6.1 gigatons of carbon annually, which is 10.1% more than what it generates. There's no better climate champions in the world than the American farmer, rancher, forester. And so we have a lot to be proud of when it comes to this industry. And again, there's not a dollar that is has a better return on investment than one that is invested in American agriculture within this farm bill. Recoups tremendously just in terms of the number of jobs, economic activity, and the taxes that are generated as a result of those entities. Too often in Washington, the naysayers and the pundits drown out our progress on key issues, not on the Agriculture Committee. It really is time to iron out the details, mark up the Farm Bill, and get it across the floor, and have the Senate do their job next. There's 12 titles to this Farm Bill. There's a lot to it, and we understand that. It's very diverse, because it's everything that has to do with agriculture and, quite frankly, rural America. It's got the safety net program, and as I've said, food security is national security. And a strong commodity title ensures that Americans can continue to produce the safest, most abundant, and most affordable food supply in the world. In recent years, farm income has been on the decline. USDA's own data expects farm income to fall by $80 billion by the end of 2022 to the end of 2024. This is the greatest two-year loss in the net farm income in history. This Farm Bill can do something about that. Persistent inflation and rising costs of production warrant new investments in farm safety net. A robust Title I aids the American producer in managing the risk of low prices or declining farm revenues. On the research side, American agriculture is science, technology, and innovation, the Farm Bill promotes science, technology, and innovation, which are necessary for training the next generation of agriculturalists. It's necessary for keeping American agriculture at the forefront of productivity and maintaining our competitive edge with China. It helps us deal with sometimes deteriorating weather conditions. It helps us in areas where soil health is not the finest, of being able to turn that around. It helps us to be able to produce more on less acreage, which is what the trend has been. Trade, incredibly important part of the Farm Bill as well, and the Farm Bill trade programs have worked to build and maintain and expand markets for American agricultural products around the world. American producers not only feed, fuel, and clothe our nation, but provide for consumers around the world. And the Biden administration's trade agenda, or lack thereof, has left America's producers with their hands tied, unable to engage in free trade and pursue new or expanded markets. And so this Farm Bill is an opportunity to bolster those markets. We've heard about forestry tonight, the livestock program we've heard about this evening. Mr. Speaker, there's just, I'm looking forward here, without a doubt, before May of getting moving this Farm Bill out of the House Agriculture Committee, and then we'll get it to the floor, and we'll get it to the Senate, and we'll get it to the President's desk. And so we appreciate your presiding this evening, Mr. Speaker, and yield back whatever time might remain.
The gentleman yields back. Does the gentleman have a motion?
Yes, I do, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say yea. Those opposed say no. The yeas have it. The motion is adopted.